Work takes up most of your time. That's why you should use stamps.com to save time with your mailing and shipping, and have flexibility to focus on more important things. Stamps.com can handle all your mailing and shipping needs with rates up to 88% off USPS and UPS. Add flexibility to your day with Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com/program to sign up for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/program.
Ever get the feeling you're being watched online? It's data brokers. They collect your personal info, your browsing habits, where you live, and who you're related to, and then sell it to the highest bidder. Aura helps stop that. Aura automatically removes your personal info from data broker sites and keeps it off. It also monitors the dark web, protects your devices, alerts you to real-time threats, and more. Start your free trial at aura.com/listen. That's AURA.com/listen for your free trial.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Queen Diamond.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. I love going back to the beginning. I always say the beginning charts our trajectory in life, our little habits we pick up along the way, follow us into our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And have you always been interested in music?
Well, my childhood is very interesting. I was raised by my grandparents. My mother was murdered when I was 5 years old. And my father had never been in my life. And so my grandparents, at the time we were living in Newark, New Jersey, and they decided that they wanted to take me and my brother to North Carolina. And so I was partly raised in New Jersey and then partly raised in North Carolina. But music has always been a part of my life, in church, outside of church. I sung in the choir. I sung with the ensemble is what they called it back then. Now they call it the praise and worship team. And so, and I always loved R&B and break dancing. And so I used to do dance challenges all the time. So I used to always participate. I had a lot of friends, and I used to live across the street from the library. So at the library, we would all meet over there, and I would sing and they would dance. And sometimes I would dance with them as well. And so it's just always been a part of my life. My grandmother had a jukebox, and so she had all these records. And during that time, I was listening to a lot of the Sam Cooke and Otis Redding. And I used to love Kenny Rogers. Used to listen to him all the time too. Like I love all kinds of music.
I love that. So you have a really eclectic kind of taste in music, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get into this amazing single, Money Wave. Tell me about the process of making that, what inspired it.
Okay. So actually I had flew to Atlanta. I was here in Miami, and one of my daughter's friends that's an engineer, she had told me about him before, and I had did a song with him before. And so I wanted to do 3 more songs. And so I had wrote those 3 songs out. And the night before, I was listening to some beats. Me and my daughter was actually listening to some beats. And I heard a beat. I was like, oh, I love this beat, but I don't have anything to go with it.
Yeah.
And so when we get there, we're waiting outside. And he tells me, to wait for a minute. He's kind of still setting up. And so I said, okay. So while we're out there waiting, we were listening to that beat again. And my
Mhm.
daughter was like, Mom, won't you just write something real quick while we're waiting? I was like, now? She was like, yeah. I said, what in the world am I going to write like right now? And then I thought about it. I was like, I'm going to write about me and the people.
Yeah.
I said, me and the people. So, you know, like I'm always have people coming to me um, because I am a businesswoman as well. And so they come to me and they always want to start a business. And then but they don't know what to do once they start that business. So I'm always giving them, you know, ideas and how to structure and how to strategize. And I realized one day I'm helping everybody else to start their businesses. And my business, even though my business is to help them start a business, I still want to do other businesses myself. I want streams of income.
Right.
And at the time, you know, I was going through, I was one of those people that back in the day who had children, um, who could not, you know, fulfill their dream
Mhm.
because, you know, in life you go through struggles and it takes you in a different direction. And
Yeah.
so I always lived through the music through my children. So I pushed them and all of them sing and dance.
Amazing.
And so now they're pushing me, which is amazing. To see them support me the way that they do. And they always say, Mama, you be getting us crunk. But so what happened was while I was out there thinking about all of that, I said, my life has drastically changed
Mhm.
from how I used to be when I was that person that used to live in the projects, that person
Mhm.
that used to be on welfare, but now working my own corporation, um, having a career,
Mhm.
and just doing what I want to do now. I'm just living in freedom now. So I said,
Lovely.
let me type about that. And I said, I started just writing.
Mhm.
Like I didn't have any particular order or anything. I just start writing about me and what I do and the moves that I make and how I made those moves.
Yeah.
Um, how did I make money? How did I get to this place? How did I help other people get to this place? What have I been doing in my life since then? And I
Mhm.
just started writing. And then when I started writing what I wrote, I probably wrote everything like in about 5 to 8 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back and I looked at what I wrote and I said, okay, I got to put this in some kind of order. It got to make sense. I got to make sure it rhymes. You know, I'm thinking about all of that. So then I go back and I said, and it has to be able to impact somebody else so they can hear the message in what I'm saying to them. Because
Right.
for me, it's not just about me, it's about impacting others. It's
Mhm.
about building a legacy. It's about
Mhm.
leaving something behind for my children, my grandchildren, from generation to generation. And if it doesn't work with them, because sometimes it doesn't always work through your children, but it'll work through somebody else out there that'll
Mhm.
catch the vision, that'll catch the message, and will take off with it. And so that's what it's about for me.
I
And
love
so
that.
then next thing I know, I hadn't wrote it. Um and I hadn't even had time to correlate it with the beat yet. So
Mm.
then he tells me he's ready. I go inside and I told him, I said, hey, I had these other three songs, but I just wrote this song and I really want to do this song. So he was like, I said, a matter of fact, let's do it first because I need to figure out how I'm going to put it with the beat.
Mhm.
And I said, can you play the beat? So I sent him the beat. He started playing the beat. And as he was playing the beat, I started saying things with it. When I was doing it, I ended up having to change a few things around. And then my daughter was like, oh, that sounds good. But why don't you add a little attitude with it? And why don't you do this? And so her and my godson was there. They were supporting me all the way through. So then after that, I put the song together and we did it. We did it piece by piece.
Amazing. Amazing. No, it is a powerful anthem for sure. And I love music that um, you know, that is very much, you can bump it and it's for this time, but also it teaches you something. It's like, oh snap, okay, yeah, this is something that's very important that you don't
Yeah.
really get in a lot of music today, A lot of times
Right.
you hear music that is very much, about sex, or it's drugs or
Right.
worship of all that other stuff. And it's like,
Right.
it's good to hear financial literacy. I think it's very important to put in music, especially hip
It
hop.
is. Yes. Yes, because, our young people now, I think they've gotten too focused on hip hop music
Mm-hmm.
and fighting and violence, and being on the streets. But you can be in hip hop, and you can be in R&B, and you can be a entrepreneur. You can be that corporate person.
Mm-hmm.
You can do designer without doing it illegal. It's a legal way to do it.
Right.
And it's a legal way to do it where you can become a millionaire if you want to. But you have to hear the vision.
Right.
Once you hear it, then you can execute it. But that's what they need to hear over and over again in order to get their mind conditioned to do
Mm-hmm.
something different than what they've been doing.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so that's
It's
what I am, where I am in my music. My music talks about my real life situations, and it talks about even in encounters that I've had with other people. Even
mm,
even if it's my actual encounter, it's a real encounter, um, that I've experienced or I've seen, through someone else. And I just put it
absolutely.
on paper. And I want to be able to say something positive, but I also want people to understand that life be life in, and we
Yeah,
go
oh
through
yeah.
struggles. And we need to learn to be transparent with people to know that it's not going to always happen the way we want it to.
Mm-hmm.
But if we don't give up, if we persevere,
Right.
it can happen. Because, I wrote a book with, if people knew all of the things that I went through, they'd be like, what?
Yeah.
I wrote a book called Her Strength. I didn't want it to be just about the woman, her strength. But the way it's spelled is like a capital H, lowercase e, capital R,
Mm-hmm.
strength, all put together, because he needs strength, her needs strength. We all need strength
Yeah,
in what we do. And I had the strength to go forth in this music, even at the, rate of where I am today.
yeah,
You're never too old to do anything that you want to do. As long as you have breath in your body, whatever your dream is, you can make it happen. I
absolutely.
stopped trying to wait to be sat at other people's table. I said, I'm going to
Mm,
create my own table. And
right.
if I create my own table, other people are going to sit at this table. But when they sit at my table, I'm going to give them food to eat. I'm
Yeah,
not going to just let them watch me eat.
right.
That's the difference between me and other people.
I love that. I love that. And speaking of your story, I mean, you have such an amazing story. And I read, you know, you surviving stomach cancer and
Yeah.
temporarily losing your vision. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure that impacted you in so many ways, but I'm sure that also um, gave you a new sense of purpose, even in the music world.
Yes, it did. Actually, it's one of the reasons why, I got back into writing and wanting to do music, um, was because when I went through the cancer, which was detrimental, I had to have major surgery and then doing, the chemo and everything. I couldn't do anything for myself. I had went from a size 14 to a size 2.
Mm,
Literally, I was that little. I was smaller than my daughter, and she was 3, 4 at the time. And because I couldn't eat anything after the surgery, I had to do juicing
mhm.
for like 3 months, 3 to 4 months. I had to do juicing, and then after that, I went to pureed soft foods, and then I was finally able to go to solid food. But through it all, I persevered, and in the meantime, I was losing people I love to stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer, and that could have been me. And so for me, it was like it gave me a new sense of purpose, that I'm going to live in freedom every day. I'm not going to let things stress me out. What I can't control, I'm not going to worry about it. But what I can do is control how I react, how I respond, what I
Yeah,
do, and understand that every no does not mean it's not going to happen. Sometimes no's is just a delay until the real yes comes. And so I said, I'm going to pursue everything that I ever wanted to do in life. And that's what I've been doing.
I
I've been
love that.
pursuing everything that I want to do in life, and music was definitely one of them. I wanted to get back writing in my journal,
Yeah.
and that's what I started doing. I just started writing songs before I even started listening to beats. I just was writing songs. Whatever came to me, I started writing.
Hmm.
And then when I lost my vision, that I got the cancer in 20. I found out in 2019. I had the surgery in 2020,
Hmm.
and then after that, I lost my vision in January 2023.
Wow.
Um, and I'm telling you, that literally changed my life.
Mm.
I have a newfound respect for people that are blind
Right.
because I had to learn how to touch and move my way around through everything with no vision.
Mm.
I had no vision for about 2 or 3 months, or 2.5 months probably. Um, and then having to depend on somebody else to guide me, or feed, cook my food. And they tell me, oh, your chicken is at 6 o'clock, your drink is at 12, or,
Hmm.
1, learning things like that, not being able to even talk to, I mean, not talk, see anybody. I had to talk to everyone. So I didn't give up because I was blind. I could still hear. And so what happened, let me tell you what happened that got me back into the music.
Yeah.
My husband does music too. He,
Nice.
he writes, he raps, but he loves hip hop. He normally does hip hop. So he writes and he raps. And so I was getting into a depression, and he said, "You got to get up."
Hmm.
He said, "You got to get up." And he said, "I know what we can do. You love music." He said, "Let's do a song together." And I was like, "How am I supposed to do a song
Yeah.
and I can't see? I can't
Mm.
write it." And he said, "You just tell me what you want to say."
Mm.
So I told him what I wanted to say. And the song was called "We Got Us." And so I told him what I wanted to say. And then he wrote it down. And then what he did was, when he put the beat on, he would tell me what I wrote, and each part, and then I would do it. I
Right.
would rap it or sing
Nice.
it, and
Nice.
he recorded it right there at the house. And then when he finished mixing it and getting it all together, placing everything together, he let me hear it. I was blown away. It gave me a motivation I never imagined, and I
Mm.
fought through that. And my vision started coming back, but it didn't come back immediately. I start seeing silhouettes, or people's faces looked blurred. Everything looked blurred. But
Wow.
after about another couple of months, I started seeing things again, and
That's such a blessing.
it is a blessing. My eyes are still not completely healed. Um, there's a film that goes over your eye to protect the eye gate, but mine has not grown back since then. And the hospital that messed my eyes up, because they gave me the wrong solution to go in my eyes, it had salt in it instead of the regular sterile solution. They gave me solution with salt, and it took away both my corneas.
Mm.
My eyes were like literally like a Hulk green. Like, it was unbelievable when I was able to see the pictures. Because he took pictures.
Hmm.
He said I wouldn't have believed it if he didn't take the pictures. So he took pictures and he did videos when I had to go to the eye specialist every day for a month. And I had to put drops in my eyes um, every 30 minutes
Mm.
for a whole month. And then it went to every hour. Um, Now I still put drops in my eyes, but not as often as I had to before.
Yeah.
But it made me appreciate life more, because when I couldn't see, I could hear better, and
Yeah.
I could feel. Even when I things I took for granted, feeling the breeze against my face. When I walked out the door, I couldn't see anything, but I could feel the breeze as I walked outside. Those are things
Mhm.
that I think that being so busy in life, we take for granted, not take the moment to enjoy it.
That's true.
And so now I enjoy everything,
Love that.
everything.
I love that. That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. I really I love that, when an artist or a creative can take control of their own narrative and not be controlled by, the music world. There's all these conglomerates, there's all these people that want to tell you what you should do or what you should talk about, or this is the mainstream, this is what you should do. But when
Right.
you're like, no, I'm gonna create and believe in what I want to, I'm gonna do it my way and not your way,
Hmm.
because there is multiple ways you can do it.
Right.
Like your lyrics LLC, and you talk about that, like those kind of talk, like those conversations. I think it's so important to talk about that. Because there's a lot of artists that get into this game and get into these bad deals and get screwed,
Hmm.
completely,
Yeah.
because the studios are taking their money. Or, they're thinking, I've heard so many stories of people getting $1 million and not knowing that that money is your tour money. It's this, it's all that, it's all these other things that it's going to. So, um, it's how important is it for artists to know about the business side of music as well, and not just the creative process?
It's extremely important. Um, because you'll have situations that we see that you're just talking about of artists that are literally broke. Um, they do not know how to read a contract. They do not understand the business side of it. And so, one of the things, I have a nonprofit organization as well. And so, one of the things that
Nice.
me and some of my friends have talked about
Hmm.
was doing some workshops to teach artists how to put everything in order, like get your business in order.
Yeah.
It is so important that you know how to copyright. It's important that you know who to sign up everything with. It's
Hmm.
important that you read your documents. You read that fine print and you understand what your rights are
Hmm.
as an artist. And they get these agents and they put all of their trust in that, and all they do is just sing and
Yeah.
rap, and they don't read anything,
Yeah.
and they allow them to handle everything. No, you need to be that person that understands everything from step A to step Z,
Yeah.
um, in whatever you do. And so those are one of the things. Even they need to understand financial literacy. They need to understand what to invest their money in and
Yeah.
how to generate other income, and not just focus on it being from the music side.
Hmm.
But there are so many other things that other people do. A lot of them think that the artists just make money from music, and it's not true. What they
Not
don't
true.
understand is they have a lot of different avenues and streams of income in other places that they invest in, but they don't really talk about that.
Right.
They have kept that secret for so long.
I wonder why though.
I really don't know. And for all we know, it could be in their contract.
Yeah, it's
For
very true.
for all we know, those that are pulling their strings, like their puppets, could
Right.
be telling them that, well, this is what you need to do. You don't need to share this when you're, doing your song. Um, you need to just say this. You don't need to let everybody know everything. But I beg to differ on that. You may not need to let everybody know every detail,
Right.
but you do need to let people know, hey, this is not the only way. We have a
Right.
lot of young people that's coming after us. And so, if you're really a true icon, if you really want to be a true legend, then what you have to do is be honest, be transparent.
Oh
And,
yeah.
another thing that people get afraid of is they so afraid somebody's going to become as successful as they are if they do what they do.
Which is wild. It's like, I mean, you can't sit on the information forever. Like
Right.
you want to pass it along. And I think it's, especially in the community when it comes to, you hear those artists like, those Angie Stones. When I saw that story of like, she's been in the game for many years. And then she was
Yeah.
like, I didn't know they were taking money from me. And it's just it's gnarly to think that someone can be so, in the business for so long and yet still getting robbed of
Right.
their incentives.
Absolutely. I think that we sometimes you get so excited about the opportunity
Hmm.
um, that You don't ask questions, you don't look into anything. You just go with the flow because you're excited about that moment. But that moment can mess you up for a lifetime. And
Mhm.
I rather take my time and have fun with it and learn everything that I can learn than get caught up in a moment that will cause destruction for the rest of my life instead of setting
Absolutely.
me up for a greater future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love asking every guest this question, and there is no wrong answer, I promise. The three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
I would choose respect.
Okay.
I would choose respect because if I can get the respect of the people, that means that I can gain the money and the power. Respect is much needed. If they don't respect you, then why would I follow you?
Right.
If I don't, if you don't, if I don't, I can't get your respect, you're not going to listen to me. If I don't get your respect, I can't influence you to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, even in business, if you don't have the respect, how can you make money? How
It's
can you
true.
have any power? Because if they don't respect you, they're not going to purchase anything from you. They're not going to invest in anything from you.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'd rather have the respect of the people, that I am someone that they can model after,
Mm-hmm.
that I am someone that they can listen to and their life be impacted and changed. Because if I can do that, they won't mind investing in me. We'll be pouring into each other. And that is to me is more powerful than anything in the world.
I love that.
There's some things that money can't buy,
Mm-hmm. That's
you know.
beautiful. Well said. I like that. I like your answer.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I love asking this question too. If you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh, wow, that is a question. Well, to be honest,
Mhm.
if it was someone that had passed away, I must say that um, I was mesmerized by Michael Jackson, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a great one.
Um, Michael Jackson, even though he changed his entire appearance,
Hmm.
and people may not understand that. They may feel like he did it because he wanted to be like somebody else. I think he did it because that's who he felt like he was on the inside.
Mm.
And it didn't matter to him what nobody else thought. He made that change, but he was very talented.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was very talented, and I would have loved to have worked with him to learn those dance moves and and Michael Jackson had a lot of respect. He had a lot of influence, and he also impacted the world.
Yeah, I think he was someone that was bigger than the corporation that built him.
Yes,
And I think
absolutely.
that scared them, the corporations, the powers that be. And I don't think
Absolutely.
there'll ever be another Michael, unfortunately.
I don't think either. I think that was it. That was it. I haven't seen anyone like him. We have a lot of great artists, women and male, that are extremely talented and who does have a great influence. But I have not seen anyone like Michael at all,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all. And so it would be him. I know you probably would think I would choose a female. And I love my female people. I do. And actually, there are a couple of females that I loved, especially growing up, and that was Whitney Houston was one of them.
Oof, yeah, it's a good one.
I loved Mariah Carey. I loved her as well. Um, and as far as on the hip hop side, I loved Queen Latifah, to
Oh
be
yeah,
honest.
that's a good one.
She is very diverse. She's
Yeah,
a very diverse woman, and in acting and a lot. Actually, I met her once on a set.
nice.
Um, yeah, when they were playing, when they were doing Stars, at the time I was hired as a makeup artist to do all of their makeup, and they ended up asking me to be a stand-in.
Oh, that's cool.
It was very cool, and I was able to eat with her and Brandy, and some of the other people on the set. And I was, and she asked me a question. She was like, "Hey, that salad looks good." She was like, "Where did you get that from?" And on the inside, I was like, "Oh my God, Queen Latifah just said something to me." But of course, I played it cool.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
Yeah. And I used to love wearing my heels all the time. So I'm the only one on the set with heels. And I had these purple heels. Well, it was purple shoes but the heels were black. And Brandy complimented my shoes. And so, I said, you know what? I'm feeling real great today. They making me feel real.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I always say that I think, well, I don't know, today's artistry, like as far as like females, I don't know. Do you feel like music is changing for the better in that retrospective, like women in music? Do you think they're getting their diligence now? Because, now we have essentially like you can make a song in your basement and it can go number one. Like you have technologies, so it makes it possible that we can kind of compete on those levels now. Do you think
Yeah.
women are getting their do do
Due
justice now?
diligence. Oh, they're just this. I think it's a great opportunity for women now,
Yeah.
and doing their music. And because I think that the COVID caused the chains to be broken off,
Mm.
on in the music industry. And people around the world now can hear you without you having to beg somebody to be on their label. I remember different people just begging people, "Can you just listen to my music? Can you listen to my music?" Or having to go through so many loops and hurdles to get their music played on the radio or
Mhm.
anywhere. And now you can get your music played on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and just so many different platforms, Spotify, all of these different platforms, Amazon Music. And I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And it's like the chains have been broken off, and it's up to you whether you take that opportunity or not. So, yes, women have a lot of great opportunities now. All they have to do is just make the move.
Yeah.
And which is Money Wave is just telling you, make the move, create make that portfolio fat. I've made my portfolio fat in a lot of different areas, not just in music, but in
Mhm.
a lot of different areas. Even in film, like I'm using my music too in the film that I've written.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
and so I got my casting crew, and we've been filming for a year now. I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure that the sound and everything is good. But
That's exciting.
that's why I talk about in Money Wave, portfolio fat, like
Yeah.
them 808 drums.
Hey.
Them 808 drums. Like they give you that feeling when that sound come from them, that 808 drums. And a lot of people don't understand how LLCs work. I have a C corp, but I also
Okay.
have an LLC, and um, it's a difference between the two. And sometimes I have to break down that difference so people can understand. Depends on your situation and how you need to be set up.
Right.
But that's how your freedom come,
That's right.
not just working for somebody else.
Yeah,
But
that's yeah, that's a big one. It's like some people like to work for people, but I think
Right.
it's what you want. I feel
It's
like
what you want.
it's what you want, right? I love that freedom talk. I feel like it's financial freedom is, it's like what Jay-Z said in his song. He said, screw being rich and dying broke.
Hmm.
What's the point of that? You want that legacy.
Right.
And I love that's what you're doing and
Yeah.
talking about. What advice would you give to artists who want to stay independent or build their business around their art like you have?
If they want to do that, then they have to invest in themselves
Mhm.
just as they would if they was on somebody's clock.
Right.
All that time we put into other people's business and on the clock, and we clock in on time because we want that promotion. I feel like if you do the same thing for yourself, learn your craft,
Hmm.
um, find out everything you need to know. There's so many resources out here now. You don't have to wait on somebody to tell you anything. If you're not computer savvy, learn how to be computer savvy or find someone that you can trust that is computer savvy that won't mind working with you. But give it everything you have within you. If you want to be successful, learn the business side of it. Be independent. Learn every avenue you need to learn. Um, and listen, if you do that, you'll see yourself with a greater outcome than you would have waiting on somebody else to do it for you.
I
And it's
love that.
nothing wrong with going through other people that have the business acumen or knowledge of, doing these type of things and providing you a service, but you make sure they're providing you the best service that you deserve. And then you still do things on your own.
Hmm.
Don't let that be where everything stops,
Right.
you
I
know?
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you for that advice. If you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self something that you know now, what would it be?
I would go back and tell my 18-year-old self that you are beautiful
Oh, I
and
love
you
that.
are smart. And there is nothing in life that you can't do. All you have to do is write the vision, make it plain, and execute it. Don't worry about not having no money. Don't
Right.
worry about how it's going to come. Because if you take that first step foot forward, everything else will fall into place if you don't give up, if you persevere. Don't be distracted by everything else around you. Even when it seems like you are at the bottom of the barrel, that barrel will never run dry if you keep moving.
Hmm.
It may get low, but it'll never run dry. And as long as you have breath in your body, do everything that your heart desires to do because you can do it. You have the strength to do it, and God will see you through. That's what I would tell that 18-year-old person.
That's beautiful. Amen to that. I love that. I love that. Where can people find you on social media to follow everything you got going on?
They can find me on Instagram. I'm AskCat Live. That's AskCatLive. I'm also Boss Cat Queen Diamond on Instagram. On TikTok, I'm Boss Cat Queen Diamond. Facebook is Catrese Boss Cat Queen Diamond Alston. You can Google me. I'm all over
Hey.
Google too.
I love,
Yeah.
I
So yeah, they can find me on those different platforms.
Beautiful. Well, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for sharing your amazing, incredible story.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.